Hello for all of the lecturer and my fellow friends. I'm Madeline, and today I'm going to present my research for Design Research Methodology module about the impact of cultural factors on UX design for user engagement and satisfaction in e-commerce platform. First of all, I'm going to give you guys an overview about what I'm going to explain today. First, I'm going to explain my introduction, and then critical review, my research methodology, the data collection, analysis and discussion, and I'm going to end it with conclusion and also references. First, I'm going to start with introduction. User experience design plays a crucial role in the success of e-commerce platform. Since design aesthetics are not universally applicable, recognizing each country cultural preferences is essential. Because of how important culture elements in e-commerce platforms, I decided to make this as my research problem to ensure user satisfaction through effective UX design. Based on the research problem, I come up with 3 research questions and objectives. The first research question is, what is the impact of culture differences on e-commerce platforms? In what ways do cultural factors influence the UX design of e-commerce? And the last one is, how do cultural aspects of UX design affect user engagement and satisfaction? Continue from the research question, I come up with 3 objectives. The first one is to evaluate the impact of cultural differences on e-commerce platforms, to analyze the cultural factors that influence the UX design of e-commerce, and the last one is to assess how the cultural aspect of UX design affect user engagement and satisfaction. The next thing I'm going to explain will be the critical review that I use as my secondary research to support my research proposal. The first one is the influence of e-commerce user experience on user satisfaction by Riansha, Tjahjadi, Octavia in 2024. The goals of this study want to analyze how different user experience components on e-commerce platforms impact user satisfaction. This study focused on Generation Z users. The strength of this research, they provide insight into user experience factors like communication, consistency, and also efficiency. But the weakness is the study only focused on Gen Z users, limiting its general audience. Second one is the significance of culture toward the usability of web design and its relationship with satisfaction by Benaida in 2021. The goal of this study was to clarify the role of culture in measuring the usability of website by providing a framework with 5 usability heuristics. The strength of the study, they provide a new framework for designers to provide user needs while respecting background and also culture. But the weakness of this is study lacks enough participants and needs people from around the world for accurate results. And the last one is UI UX design impact on e-commerce attracting users by Hassan, Silahi, Rumagit, and Pratama in 2024. The goals of this study wants to examine the impact of UX design in Indonesian e-commerce, including platforms such as Tokopedia, which is the platform that I studied in this research. The strength of this study is providing the statistical analysis using mean opinion score to show how color theory, interface navigation, and homepage design affect users. But unlike other journals, this study did not include any pretest to ensure data analysis. Now I'm going to explain about Section 1 and Section 2 of my survey with demographics and participant usage. For this research, I divided the participants into 3 groups. The first one is Indonesian with 42 participants, Malaysian with 28 participants, and Chinese with 30 participants. The highest age group will be 18 to 24 years old participants with 32 Indonesian, 25 Malaysian, and 23 Chinese participants. Their primary language use is Bahasa Indonesia for Indonesian, Mandarin for Chinese, and Malaysian use three languages. The first one is English with 15 participants, and a very few Malaysian that use Malay, and the rest is using Mandarin as their primary language. To ensure the user exposure to e-commerce platforms, specifically Tokopedia and Taobao, the usage frequency of each group mostly are daily and weekly, and they're also seen to have used Tokopedia and Taobao before. Next, we're coming into Section 3 of the survey regarding cultural differences on e-commerce platforms. The first question in this section, talking about the user preferences on the use of local language in e-commerce platforms. Based on the chart shown, out of 100 participant responses, each group mostly preferred the use of their local language on e-commerce platforms, while only a few of the remaining participants from each group answered no or not sure. Continue from that, I want to know what cultural mismatch they encountered while using either Tokopedia, Taobao, or even both. The first one, regarding cultural mismatch while using Tokopedia, most of the participants answered no based on the chart. The reason from each group are varies. Out of 42 Indonesian participants, 35 participants stated that they did not encounter any cultural mismatch while using Tokopedia because Tokopedia used local language, eliminating the language barriers. Meanwhile, Chinese and Malaysian participants did not report any issues, as seen on the chart, because they had never used Tokopedia before. However, some mentioned that they did not understand the language based on the references provided in the survey. Next is the cultural mismatch while using Taobao. Most of the participants answered no. The reason behind it was language, regarding the product and also currency. Because Taobao mainly use Mandarin in their platforms, Indonesian participants find it hard to understand. Also, the product information they have is quite lengthy and it is quite overwhelming for Indonesian participants. Meanwhile, Chinese participants found it useful. Lastly, the currency they use is still RMB, which is the currency for China. So it is hard for them to convert it into their currency, making the user experience not smooth. Next section is the cultural factors in UX design. It questions about what cultural elements in each platform that reflect the local culture. Based on the survey, I gathered some keywords. The first one is the use of local language. Because because Tokopedia use Bahasa Indonesia and Taobao use Mandarin, so it is easy for each group to use the platform. The second one is the color. Tokopedia use green. Many Indonesian participants stated that application in Indonesia mostly use green, which is give them a sense of familiarity, which is the same as Taobao because Taobao use red and it represents Chinese culture. And the third one is currency. As I mentioned in section 3, currency is also one of the cultural elements. Using rupiah in Tokopedia and RMB in Taobao make user experience more smooth. The next one is platforms that align with the culture expectation. For Malaysian and Chinese participants, they both choose Taobao because Tokopedia is not accessible in their country and they also did not familiar with Tokopedia. For Indonesian participants, most participants choose Tokopedia because they use it more frequently and they find the platform also more familiar for them. The last section is the cultural influence on user engagement and satisfaction. The first question wants to know if participant ever preferred one platform over the other because of its cultural familiarity or suitable. As seen on the chart, most of them answer yes. The reason from each group are for Malaysian, they choose Taobao over Tokopedia because they were more familiar. Additionally, they also mention other platforms such as Shopee and also Lazada. For Indonesian participant, they choose Tokopedia because it is widely used in Indonesia and it is more familiar. They also mention another platform such as Shopee. Lastly, Chinese participants prefer Taobao because they found it more easy to use and widely known in China. The additional platforms they mentioned are Pinduoduo, Shopee, Xiaohongshu, and more. The next chart shown are culture elements that influence user trust. As seen on the chart, most of the participants answer language, followed by navigation preferences. Last is talking about the influence of culture design elements on the shopping experience. The first one is the UX quality. If the UX quality is good, it gives them emotional comfort and also satisfaction. That will impact their behavior on shopping. Lastly, the purchase experience and accuracy while using the platforms influence their shopping experiences. Next, I'm going to analyze and discuss regarding the collected data. The survey answers my research question. The first one is, what is the impact of culture differences on e-commerce platforms? Based on the findings, culture differences impact e-commerce, with language being the most significant factors affecting the user experience and also satisfaction. Question number 2 is, in what ways do cultural factors influence UX design of e-commerce? Multiple UX design aspects were identified, such as language, color, currency, payment, visual design icon, and also product information. The last one is, how do cultural aspects of UX design affect user engagement and satisfaction? Based on the finding, the data reveals that cultural familiarity affects user engagement and satisfaction, with most participants preferring Tokopedia or Taobao based on the familiarity. To end this presentation, the conclusion are, cultural differences were found in both Tokopedia and Taobao, with language being the most significant factor. Section 4 also shows cultural elements like language, color, visual design and icon, payment method, currency, and also product information. In the last section, cultural familiarity is important for user engagement and satisfaction. The key culture elements found are language, navigation, and visual symbols and icons. These elements affect the shopping experience and give emotional comfort and satisfaction. Lastly, this is my references that I use for research. And that is all for me. Thank you.